I'd like to call to order this regular council meeting of the town of Saugeen Shores. And the first order of business is a declaration of pecuniary interest, and I'll remind every member of your responsibility to do so. If nothing, then the next item on the agenda is adoption of minutes, and it's the regular council minutes of July 13th, 2015. It's been moved by Councillor Rich and seconded by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau. The council adopts the minutes of the council meeting of July 13th, 2015 as presented. Questions or comments? All in favor then. The next item is Committee of the Whole minutes of July 13th, and it's been moved by Vice Deputy Mayor Huber, seconded by Councillor Minaj, that the council note and file the Committee of the Whole minutes of July 13th, 2015. Questions or comments? All in favor then. Opposed, if any, that's carried. The next item is a report of Committee of the Whole. Been moved by Vice Deputy Mayor Huber and seconded by Councillor Minaj that Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores adopts the Environmental Services Report dated July 13th, 2015, recommending that Council approve the following. 1. That Acker Construction Limited be awarded the contract for the Shant Street Water Main Replacement Project, tender number 2015-6430-5530, in the amount of $55,952.22 plus applicable HST, and that the Mayor and Clerk be authorized to sign the necessary tender documents. 2. That the Doug Wells Construction be awarded the contract for Bicker Street Reconstruction Project, tender number 2015-6430-5540, in the amount of $342,275.89 plus applicable HST, and that the Mayor and Clerk be authorized to sign the necessary tender documents. 3, with respect to waste collection services, that Public Works full-time unionized staff complement be reduced from 28 to 26 positions. Questions or comments? Vice Deputy Mayor Huber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like some confirmation. Item 3 on the list doesn't have a timeline. I know that this is supposed to be realized through either not replacing some empty positions or attrition. We're not basically making the decision right now that tomorrow somebody's going to be losing their job, are we?
The attrition has occurred already.
Any further questions? All in favor then? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item on the agenda is Community Services Report, July 13th, 2015, and it's been moved by Councillor Mattis and seconded by Councillor Mike Myatt that Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores adopts the Community Services Report dated July the 13th, 2015, recommending that Council endorse the airport hangar agreement as a precedent lease for use by staff for discussions with future pilots wishing to erect a hangar at the Port Elgin Airport, and further that the revenues from future agreements be allocated to the Airport Reserve Fund. Comments? Vice Deputy Mayor Huber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly still don't think that we're being fair between Trailer Park, the harbor, and the airport, but I did want to ask just for a definition at this stage of what is the sort of short form version of precedent lease? That has never shown up in our lease agreements in the past. Could I just have a short form wording for what that actually means?
Mr. Mayor, this is a new program that the director wants to implement, and so we did not have a lease kind of on the shelf. So we are simply asking Council to endorse this particular version as something that will be used for those discussions, and any changes to it would be highlighted by the director when it comes back.
Deputy Mayor Charbonneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify that then, Larry, so every time we agree to one of these leases or we go through a negotiation, these will come back to Council on each occasion and these leases will be approved, or does the precedent lease work in effect that the administration can approve them?
Council will deal with them individually.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor of that? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Next item on the agenda is bylaws, and the first one is the procedural bylaw, and it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau and seconded by Councillor Rich that bylaw 63-2015, being a bylaw confirming the calling, place, and proceedings of the meetings of the Corporation of the Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 28th day of July 2015. Questions or comments? Councillor Grace.
Mr. Mayor, Unfortunately, I was unable to be at the last meeting where this was discussed in the Committee of the Whole, but I have 3 concerns about the proposed bylaw, and I'd like to take a minute to go through some of my concerns and explain why I will not be voting in favor of the bylaw as it is written currently. At the Committee of the Whole meeting, I know there was an extensive discussion on the concept of open forum. I feel strongly that for us to commit to this is an important commitment to expanding our level of public engagement in the political process. I know that the mayor pointed out in his comments that there are other ways of communicating and for the public to engage, such as one-on-one discussions, such as written comments, and I think those are important, but I don't think that they preclude the importance of giving citizens the opportunity to speak in a less formal way, which the open forum would allow. And I think in the meeting, I was able to watch a little bit of the meeting online. The deputy mayor made a particularly compelling argument about the timing of the open forum and the fact that the opportunity to provide a formal delegation ends at noon on Wednesday. The Committee of the Whole agenda is not published until Thursday in the afternoon. And so for somebody to speak and be able to express their opinions on the agenda items in the Committee of the Whole would be passed by until another 2 weeks. We know that while debate is permitted, it's not as active and perhaps fluid as it is in council meeting as it is in Committee of the Whole. So I think that's another sort of practical reason for allowing that. I also believe that adopting open forum sends an important message to the public that we are a council that welcomes and values all forms of public engagement. And I think that, yes, there will be disagreements, yes, there'll be criticism, but I think constructive criticism is a possibility as well. And the more opportunities we give people to engage in respectful civic discourse, the healthier our process of democracy will be. My second concern is section 14.11, which says, and I'll quote, "A delegation once heard shall not be entitled to be heard on the same topic for a period of 6 months from the date of first being heard without prior permission of council." I believe that the wording is not sufficiently specific, and it allows for the content of delegations to be censored subjectively. And I hope that it's unlikely, but I believe that this wording may leave us in a vulnerable legal position regarding freedom of speech rights. And also, let us not forget Bill 8, which is the recently passed Public Sector and MPP Accountability and Transparency Act of 2014. In that bill, the province has now put the Ombudsman in charge of taking complaints about municipalities. And I believe that it's imperative that our actions are not seen to discriminate against any individual or group, and that the vague wording of this particular rule makes public perception of bias more likely. And finally, my third concern about the proposed bylaw is that I believe that there's still insufficient transparency in the appointment and membership of our committees. I appreciate the change of allowing council members to have some input into the process, but I think there's still room for further openness. And when our public sees the same names appear year after year on committees, sometimes on several committees during the same term, and with no explanation as to why these people were chosen, public trust in the political process is undermined. I believe that the public has the right to know the qualifications of members of our public committees, and if a committee member is unwilling to have their own qualifications for that committee published, then they shouldn't be sitting on a public committee. And so for these reasons, I will not vote to support this bylaw in its present form. Thank you.
Okay. Further comments? Then all in favor of the motion? Opposed? That carries. The next item on the agenda is a bylaw to authorize an agreement with Basra. It's been moved by Councillor Rich and seconded by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau that bylaw 64-2015, being a bylaw to authorize an agreement with Bruce Area Solid Waste Recycling, is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 27th day of July 2015. Questions or comments? Motion or bylaw? Vice Deputy Mayor Huber.
I realize that the Director of Public Works is not here. I don't have any lack of confidence about Basra. We are actually an owner of Basra, so Councillor Rich, of course, sits at the table during their meetings. So I'm not lacking in confidence about their ability to collect garbage and provide a level of service that I think we'll all be proud of. I really still hope that there will be a very concerted effort to determine how much this is going to cost us. I don't see this as saving us any money at all. And so I think it's a good idea in terms of outsourcing a particular service that has that potential. But this initially started as a way to save money, and I'm not convinced that this will save us any money. And I really look forward to a future report just showing, and it's not so much about the Basra side of things, but quite frankly, you know, one of the items that's on the list is a reduced service, which it makes perfect sense in Southampton to only have commercial pickup once a week, just like it is in Port Elgin. That makes sense in the downtown area. That is a service reduction level. So in terms of the initial small couple $1,000s worth of difference between our own costs and Basra costs, we've already taken care of that because there's a service reduction there. What I see as the part that's been missing is I'm glad that there will be a freeing up of time potentially for some town employees to do some other things that have either been hard to get completed or have taken too long or have never been able to be completed. Those things are going to cost us money, though, so I think we should be prepared at budget time to realize that we haven't saved any money with this. I am going to support this, but I just think that it started from a place of saving money, and this is not going to save us any money. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Other comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item on the agenda is to authorize a site plan agreement with Mac's Convenience Store, Port Elgin, and it's been moved by Councillor Dave Mayette and seconded by Councillor Cheryl Grace. That bylaw 65-2015, being a bylaw to authorize a site plan agreement with Double B Limited Partnerships by its general partner 2246215 Ontario Incorporated, is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 27th day of July 2015. Questions or comments? Councillor Minaj.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's more about the process. I understand it was a long, lengthy process, and I wondered if there was an opportunity to request a staff report that says what the lessons learned were and what the changes in approach will be in the future when dealing with site plans. Is that possible?
Sure it is. I think we can get staff to comment on about what the site plan process involves and what needs to be done and what does and what we can perhaps. I can assure you, anything that we can do to speed up the land use planning process, I would support. Even some of the wildest ideas we could come up with.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What I meant in particular was, what were the hurdles, and how can we avoid those same kind of hurdles in the future?
Mr. Mayor, if there were hurdles, I'm not quite sure what they were. From our perspective, this was a relatively short process. I think it only involved 2 submissions. There was the need for the minor variance identified because the building location was not in an area that conformed with the zoning bylaw. But I don't recall a whole lot of angst or going back and forth with the developer with respect to the standards that the town was looking for.
I heard it differently, and I respect, Larry, what you're saying to me, but
maybe it would be better if you took it offline and had
fair
those
enough.
concerns with Larry. Okay? Sure. Any further questions? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Next item is the road name change, Izzard Street to Harbour Street. Then it's been moved by Councillor Minaj, seconded by Vice Deputy Mayor Huber, that bylaw 66-2015, being a bylaw to change the name of Izzard Street to Harbour Street, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, finally passed and sealed this 27th day of July, 2015. Questions, comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item is a bylaw to authorize an agreement with Bruce Power, and it's been moved by Councillor Grace, seconded by Councillor Dave Mayette, that bylaw 67-2015, being a bylaw to authorize an agreement with Bruce Power LP, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 27th day of July 2015. Questions or comments? All in favor then? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item is amend the traffic bylaw, and it's been moved by Councillor Mike Myatt and seconded by Councillor Madison, that bylaw 68-2015, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 103-2008 to regulate and or control traffic in the town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 27th day of July 2015. Questions? Vice Deputy Mayor Huber.
Just an observation, the title Izzard Street is used in the bylaw.
No, Izzard Road, I think. Okay. There are two different streets, so yeah. It's now Harbour Street now. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I think we'll get it corrected. Okay? All right. Should have done it the other way around, yeah. Any questions or comments?
I guess I will clarify that. So we're adding a stop sign at Harbour Street and Izzard Road, and the current bylaw refers to a stop sign at Izzard Street and Izzard Road, and we're deleting that section from the bylaw.
Okay, any further questions? All in favor then? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And the last is a conformatory bylaw. It's been moved by Councillor Mike Myatt, seconded by Councillor Dan Madison, that bylaw 69-2015, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 27th day of July 2015. All in favor? That carries. And it's been moved by Councillor Dave Mayette and seconded by Councillor Grace that this regular council meeting of July the 27th, 2015 adjourn at 9:02 p.m. All in favor?